We tend to think of health and fitness advice and practices as fixed, but this is far from the truth. Our health practices are constantly changing to reflect the times, and the advice we are given and tools we use have huge impacts on the way we feel and move. It's crazy to think now, but until the 1960s, seeing someone jogging down the street would have seemed absurd. Going to the gym wasn't a regular activity until the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger made it popular. Heck, if you go back to the 17th century, biphasic sleep was common. While evidence is lacking, it's possible, according to the book Sleep in Early Modern England, that 17th century Brits also used to sleep sitting up. Beer was once the beverage of choice to combat unclean water, and many think that the rise of caffeine during the advent of the Renaissance period was no coincidence. These shifts have been seismic, so let's take a journey into the future of health and fitness. Let's see how we might perform, train and live in 10, 20, 50 and 100 years from now. "2025. The year is 2025, and things seem the same on the surface. However, over the past 3 to 4 years, there's been a noticeable shift towards functional fitness. People are finally starting to train because they recognise that it can help them to move more freely, more energetically, without pain, and for longer. This is partly a reaction to world events. Ever since the great pandemic of 2020, more people than ever have remained working from home. In so many ways, the pandemic has simply accelerated the inevitable social change. Without a commute or social interaction with colleagues, many of us started to see our health and fitness decline. Movement is the only antidote to such an activity, and so we find ourselves now engaging in a more varied range of activities. More people are trail running, training with kettlebells and rope climbing, right in their backyards or local parks. Gym memberships are down, but we're getting fitter nonetheless. Virtual reality is increasingly an important part of our training too. The Oculus Quest 3 has broken into the mainstream, and fitness apps are system sellers that made this possible. The game-changing feature here is hand and foot tracking, as well as a lighter and more form-fitting headset with superior pass-through and augmented reality features. Popular apps include a treadmill running app that challenges the user to race shadows of themselves and their friends. 2035. Another 10 years have passed, and the way we train has continued down this path. And with so many people now working from home, it's increasingly common to train multiple times throughout the day, in sporadic bursts. Movement is increasingly baked into our lifestyles. And we're beginning to see this change reflected in the designs of our homes. Instead of designing a property to be as comfortable as possible, many are now intentionally placing obstacles and challenges in their own way. Why walk up the stairs when you could traverse up the adjacent wall? Why not add a low passage in the hallway to encourage a little bit of crawling? It's rare to see someone wearing shoes with soles anymore. We're beginning to recognise that the body craves complexity, and that it is capable of remarkable rejuvenation when we just get out of its way. Gyms are making a comeback with an entirely different approach: immersive virtual reality training. Examples include rock climbing experiences that use resistance machines and moving grips to simulate a treacherous rock climb with a breathtaking view, and a bike ride through an impossible twisting highway in the sky, a la Rainbow Road. 2040. Our work-life balance is now greater than ever before. Many of us work for just a few hours a day before closing our computers and getting on with life. This has increased the need, though, for us to find our own meaning in life. In the year 2040, we are encouraged to treat our mental health in the same way we treat our physical health. Just as it is normal to brush our teeth, get fresh air and exercise on a regular basis, so too is it now a given that we must set aside some time each week to learn, move, spend time with friends, spend time immersed in nature, get sun exposure, meditate. Meditation itself is undergoing a transformation, with research experimenting with new approaches to see how they can affect brain function. Far more advanced health tracking devices let us know when we need more sleep and warn us about ambient light or noise that might be affecting that sleep quality. What's more is that the absolute ubiquity of IoT, that's Internet of Things, means that many processes in our homes are now plugged directly into our biometrics. Ambient temperature changes to keep us at a permanently optimum temperature. Tiny chips installed everywhere ensure that problems with air quality are detected before they can do us any harm. We're increasingly seeing homes with large open spaces, huge skylights and conservatories with retractable roofs. Far more focus is placed on garden spaces. We are increasingly encouraged to keep our windows open and to turn off the central heating. Not only does this open air design allow us to get sun exposure and regulate our biological clocks, but it also creates a far healthier bacteria profile. Various once common illnesses are becoming rarer as a result. Many of us now have dedicated sunning spots in our homes. Some of these utilise red light devices. XR training, meanwhile, that's VR or AR training, has moved outside with a greater emphasis on augmented reality. We can run around our garden, collecting orbs, get chased down the street by zombies, fight imaginary enemies, and contort ourselves to avoid incoming laser fire. Training is no longer tedious or boring, with a focus on increasing specific numbers for their own sake. Training is play. We're living out our heroic fantasies and exploring amazing, impossible places. Meanwhile, indoor VR training options now include advanced biomechanical sensory capabilities. That is to say that your VR app now understands your precise weight distribution and the position of every limb and joint. This can be used to perfect posture and even coach a number of advanced movements without any need for face-to-face coaching. Certain transhuman technologies are making their way to the black market. Injections that alter DNA to suppress myostatin are increasingly being used in the way that steroids once were. However, they are illegal, unsafe, and banned by almost all sports. 2050. Several new laws have been introduced to drastically reduce the amount of processed food available. As the nutritional value of the average snack has improved, so has the health of the general population. Many countries now place subjective happiness ratings as the measure of successful policies, rather than GDP. Many people now live in small communes. It's common to live near to your friends and family and to spend time socializing with them outdoors in shared communal areas. Homes are now augmented reality experiences in themselves. Each wall and surface can project an unlimited array of high-fidelity scenes, complete with natural light and immersive sound. Imagine going to sleep under a blanket of stars, or waking up to a serene waterfall scene. This is convenient, as the weather outside has become increasingly hostile. Medication and supplementation are now personalised and dictated by advanced genetic screening and testing. Regular checkups ensure that we get all the nutrients we need, and any deficiencies are dealt with early. The athletes of 2050 seem truly superhuman compared with those from 2020. This is not due to the introduction of any new super supplements, but rather better training and identification. Genetic screening means that we can now detect those individuals with never-before-seen traits at an early age. These are not just common desirable variants, called SNPs or SNPs, but rather entirely novel genetic mutations. These are 1 in a billion individuals who can build more muscle, run faster, and avoid injury. Has this destroyed the notion that anyone can become a top-level athlete with the right training and opportunity? Perhaps, but the genie is truly out of the bottle now. On top of this, those same athletes are now bolstered by augmented reality. Imagine a device that can provide real-time feedback during training, that could pinpoint the precise angle of a throw and the necessary speed and angle change that would have made it perfect. Imagine how a system like this might use lights and sound to tap into the dopamine system and naturally encourage adaptation and change. We are increasingly learning to tap into brain plasticity, helping the brain and body to achieve things we never thought possible. And what do you know? The way to do this looks very much like playing a video game. 2075. What about gene modification? What about the cyberpunk future we were promised? These technologies ultimately failed to reach the mainstream. Even once gene modification could be safely accomplished, we were never able to fully comprehend the true complexity of the human brain or body. Every small tweak has countless knock-on effects in an interconnected system that is simply complex beyond our reckoning. Myostatin suppression comes with the risk of tendon damage and heart issues. It can change your mood. Smart drugs or neurotropics that once showed such promise never managed to facilitate optimal cognitive performance without a cascade of negative effects. The much vaunted flow state was a fool's gold. There is not one optimal brain state. The brain works best when it's able to naturally flow from one state to another. Augmentations and prosthetics, while increasingly amazing, still can't come close to the level of dexterity or sensory resolution present in human tissue. Similar challenges led to the closure of Neuralink. The brain is not a straightforward input-output machine. In some individuals, entire functions of the brain can migrate to other regions, and the complexity of even a single neuron is beyond our understanding, as demonstrated by short-term plasticity and dendritic computation. The research conducted in the name of Neuralink led to some breakthroughs though, the threading process being invaluable for many disabled patients. But this was not the step change in communication that was promised, nor did a commercially viable product ever come forward. The notion that we need more bandwidth was insightful, but ultimately this same challenge was overcome with a more efficient input method, gone are QWERTY keyboards. Today, children are taught via video games to use devices that allow them to enter complex sentences with just a few keystrokes. Meanwhile, computers themselves now use biological parts that are capable of seemingly impossible data storage and processing. The future of fitness came more from tapping into what we already have, rather than trying to change our biology. Ultimately, the very definition of what it means to be healthy has shifted. The average healthy person will never feel tired, they'll never experience chronic pain, and they will be free from many conditions that were once commonplace. and far from being a dull requirement, many of us now see training and play as one and the same, a view bolstered immeasurably by the role of virtual and augmented reality. And we have reached the singularity. Machine learning and big data have advanced to the point that they are finally able to correctly second-guess the cascading effects of the most tiny alterations to the human genetic code. The human body and brain remain a black box to us, but the machines we've created nevertheless provide the necessary form of abstraction. We can finally visualize changes that we might make to the human body, as we might use a character creation screen in a computer game. And not a moment too soon. With the environment burning around us, changing our bodies in a shorter time frame than evolution would ever allow is the only way to survive. That and retreating to the superstructures we've built under the sea, and exploration vessels destined for the stars. Many heavily altered humans evacuate the Earth for a partially terraformed Mars, and a fresh start for a new offshoot of humanity. So hope you found this video useful and interesting, guys. It was something a bit different there. These are my predictions for the future of fitness and health. Obviously, I don't think all of this will happen, but I think a lot of it certainly could happen. And I think the aim for us is to try and get ahead of the curve and to train in a way that we might do given another 10 or 20 years of education. That's obviously the idea behind this channel in many ways, and the idea behind my training program and ebook, Super Functional Training. You can find a link in the description down below, and there's a discount on right now during the pandemic. Alternatively, if you just want to learn about functional training, then you can also check out my book, Functional Training and Beyond. That's a print book, and it's available from all good bookstores, but you'll probably need to ask them to get it in stock for you. Either way, thank you so much for watching this one, guys. We'll be back to our usual programming next time. Leave a like and share it around if you want to help out. That's a huge help to me in the channel. And subscribe if you want more like this. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of future uploads. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.